to create their own financial freedom. They teach people what they wish they knew to understand money and make money work for them. Financial education can make a difference. It can empower and equip young people with the knowledge, skills, and confidence to take charge of their lives and build a more secure future for themselves and their families. Supporting financial education can be viewed by the main public, private, and civil stakeholders as a critical long-term investment in human capital. Welcome, Candice.
Hello, Jabrilo. Great to be here.
Oh, good to have you. So, other than the fantastic bio that we just read out, please tell us, where's Candice from, why is Candice here, and where's Candice going?
Well, thank you for that awesome intro. It sounds like a mouthful. I think I do a lot of things which can get a bit overwhelming sometimes. So I am from Benoni, awesome place.
Not your fault.
No, best place ever. And for me, I've been in education now for about 12 years, and it's just something I love. I always say I'm addicted to learning, because I really am. Mm-hmm. I believe that education helps us to transform in ways that nothing else can.
Yeah.
And I was in teaching for a long time, and I still am, and I started to realize I wanted to reach more people. I wanted to reach more young people and teach them other things as well. Mm-hmm. And that led me to going into both academic coaching, teaching study skills, whole brain learning, and then the financial literacy. I'm a big proponent of financial literacy. Making bank is important. We all need to do it. Yes. And it led me to doing so much more. And I also completed my master's degree in education. That actually started a lot of it. Thank you very much. It was a long, tedious process, but I'm so grateful I did it. And from there, that's where I started to see. So I did my research in how life coaching impacts female high school students. And the results were really positive. The participants had much greater confidence, and they felt they could take challenges on in a much better way. They felt more equipped. And that really resonated with me, because I thought, we don't want to make life easier for them, because life is never going to get easier.
No, it's never going to be easy.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, too tough actually.
But that's why I thought, coaching helps them to tackle those challenges, to navigate. And I wanted to create a model where more kids could access that. Mm-hmm. But feasibility, funds, that's always obviously a problem. Mm-hmm. So that's what led me to the book. Yeah. But it also led me to getting into academic coaching to help students thrive academically, create more opportunities, and then the financial literacy, helping them. So once you know how to study, you have the degree, it's great, then it's like, so how do I make money? How do I manage this awesome salary and invest for the future? So it's really led me on an exciting journey. And like I said, taking on this book was awesome, and thanks to all your guidance and advice as well.
I'm still waiting for the invoice to be paid. I'm joking.
Oh man, you've been teaching me for so many years as well. I've been following you, and I'm so inspired by what you do.
Thank you.
And a lot of that also inspired, and I was like, maybe I can take action in a better way to reach more. And that's what's gotten me here, and it's been a wild ride. And I've loved every second. But excited for the next challenges.
Fantastic. So, when you finished varsity, right? Yes. What point in your journey did you say, I need to go into teaching and education? Because some people will be like, when they walk out of high school, I never want to see high school again. I never. But you were like, actually, I feel drawn to this. I feel drawn to teaching and educating. What was the deciding factor for you to say, I'm going to go to high school? You don't go back to high school. It's not like
go back to school.
Yeah, going to school. No, go to teach. What made you decide that?
So interestingly, I've been coaching netball since I was about 15. And naturally teaching people. And I remember one of my teachers coming to me at school, sort of grade 11, and she's like, you will make an excellent teacher. And I was like, never. I'm not going back to school, right? I am not going back to school. Like, I can't wait to get out. And I left, and I went to varsity for 3 months. I was studying psychology, and I didn't enjoy it. And I actually dropped out. I was the first varsity dropout. Ridiculed by the family, but I knew it was the right decision. And it was the best decision. And then by the end of that year, I had actually gone back to coaching netball again.
Was it your first or second year?
First year. First year,
okay.
straight out of high school.
That's the best time to do it, right? It's
Yeah.
not like doing a third year, like I'm done. You're about to finish, you know?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
That's, my mom kind of said to me, she's like, why, if you don't enjoy this, what are you wasting time for?
Very true, very true.
But I continued to waste a little bit more time.
Okay.
And the next year, I went on to actually study a BA in communications.
Okay.
And it was a fun year and I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point, my mom again said to me, well, what are you going to do with this degree?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I started exploring.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, this thing of teaching kept coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of sort of interesting mentors came around me at that time.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe this is where I'm meant to go. I love teaching and I love learning.
Yeah.
So I then actually went back and got an internship and started to study and work at the same time. But you know, I wish I could say I walked in and I was like, yes, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that sort of thing. It was an up and down, and some days I was questioning it and thinking, oh, you know, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
But as I kept progressing, it got better and I was learning and I was getting challenged.
Yeah.
And I remember a couple of years in, I was sitting down and I was like, I am doing all the right things for me. Everything I was doing, I was loving. Like, I would do all of this without having to be paid. If I won the lottery today, I would still do everything that I'm doing.
I wouldn't. I would.
You'd be on your yachts around the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was something that I felt so empowered by, because I thought, I love this. I love working with students, I love teaching, and I love learning through that. So it wasn't just this clear cut. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be a teacher. It was a process. And I always say that to students, because I think so many young people, they see this idea of success and they think it's just this beautiful, like, oh, shining moment, and that's it, you just know. And it's not. It's messy and it's up and down, and it took time, but I'm so grateful that I got those pushes by mentors, by my mom, and then I followed that path.
Yeah, shout out to mom.
Oh, always, absolutely.
All right, so then when you were in your first year of teaching,
yes,
like officially, contract signed, you're teaching, how do you get to the subject matter that you were going to be teaching? Because you get teachers for a lot of things. You get teachers for geography, you get teachers for mathematics, you get teachers for science, and all these other subjects. What led you to say, okay, I'm going to be this type of teacher?
So I actually went in going for business studies, because I loved the subject at school. So I actually majored in business studies and English, because I enjoy literature and that sort of thing. But once during my internship, the more I was teaching business, and I taught a bit of accounting, I just realized how much I loved the subject and how practical it was. I didn't want to be teaching kids things I didn't feel would add value. I think every subject does add value. I think school has a place. I'm a big advocate for school. But for me, I just love the idea of teaching them something that they could really apply into their lives at any age. I mean, I'm always telling my students, okay, I challenge them this year. Every student, through every sort of area of what I do, I challenge them to make 1,000 Rand from something entrepreneurial. And then for me, it's to teach them. They're going to learn from that process. And once they can make 1,000, they can make 10,000. And so I wanted to teach something that would give them skills, tools, things they can use so that they can make money, they can prosper, they can add value. And that's what led me to that subject, and I love it. It's just something I enjoy teaching.
100%. So what about business studies do you enjoy the most about teaching?
I think it's about giving young people the mindset of an entrepreneur. And the nicest thing is when I teach, I can teach from a place of an entrepreneur now. I don't feel like
an imposter.
Yes, it's not like I'm just teaching nonsense. And it's giving them that mindset that I don't have to just get a degree and get a job. I can do things on my own terms. I can start a business now, I can start a business in the future, I can invest. To me, it just creates so many more opportunities, and that's what I love. That's
what you love about it. So, where have you failed in being a business person / entrepreneur? What was, because I can imagine that there's something that you started with a small, something major, that there was a failure there. What was that failure, that business failure?
I'm sure there's been multiple.
That's the right answer. That is exactly the right answer.
There's always failing forward.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I started with my own life coaching business, but it was very much sitting back and hoping clients would just walk in, you know, as they do.
Well,
They just walk in
Yeah.
and want to work with me. And so nothing really happened. So I sat back and I never really took any action, and that was the biggest failure. Especially being young, and I had these visions, and I was going to be so successful by 21. Right?
Those lies, right?
Yep. And I failed so much at just taking action, taking the right action, and facing my fears. Which often held me back. And it was sort of as I got older, I think I started getting more confident, started facing a couple of those fears, just one at a time, little bit by little bit.
Of course.
And then like that led me to take the next step and the next. But every failure has been a beautiful lesson, which I've appreciated.
Okay, fantastic. So what has been a good success when it comes to any business that you've started, when your business specifically?
I think the greatest successes I'm having now is actually seeing all my hard work come together. I'm seeing business growth. I've got some awesome people working with me, and I can see that they are, you know, growing in their roles as well. And
so you employ people currently?
Yeah, so it's not full-time employment, they kind of contracted to me.
Okay, they contracted to you, okay.
Yeah, cool. So they're working with me, and
I was like, how are you going to deal with all the HR things in this country?
Oh no, I've got some incredible people who work with me, and they are such fantastic encouragers as well, but they also challenge me to think better in different ways. But seeing them grow in their role, and then seeing my clients, so seeing those students, I got a message from a student the other day telling me she got her first 3 cents dividend, and she was so excited, and I was like, this is amazing. Yeah, because that's it, it's celebrating their victories. And often I'll get a WhatsApp and a client will say, like, you taught me so much and now I'm managing money better, I'm sleeping better at night. One of my students that I worked with on the study skills, so I worked with her from from matric, where she was doing quite badly, she scraped through. Now she's in varsity getting 80s for economics.
Oh, wow.
And
that's not easy.
Not at all. In economics.
She's like,
and you can just see her confidence, and that is my greatest success, is actually seeing that impact.
All right, so then what has been the most interesting part of your journey of putting together unlocking your superpowers? Like, okay, let me backtrack. So when did you decide, okay, I'm going to put a book together on this specific subject?
So it was straight after doing my master's. I really wanted to connect more young people with great coaches, great knowledge, and the things I wish I had known when I was younger. It was a big, we all say that, we go, oh, I just wish I had known that. And then from the master's degree, I thought, if I could reach more students, and how do I do that? What's the quickest and easiest way? And most people will challenge me and say kids don't read. And I'll say, I do understand that to a point, but I think it's subject matter. And I also want to encourage them to read. You and I both love reading, and to me, if I can encourage kids to read too. So that led me to actually writing the book, but I wanted to clear the noise, because I also felt often we're overwhelmed with information. So I wanted to give young people 7 simple, clear things they could follow that would then help them achieve success sooner. And it's really more of a starting point, because there is so much more, but I just found these 7 things to be most valuable and really effective. So that's what I wanted to share with them.
So let's go back to masters, because I'm currently in the journey of doing that myself. Don't ask me why. So you got to, so what made you pick your master's subject?
So because I have such a strong background in both netball coaching and life coaching, I knew I wanted to incorporate that somewhere. And then I thought, well, what's the point? And it must be beneficial. So I wanted to see if it would be. I actually thought, you know what, I don't know. There's not that much research. There is research, but not that much, particularly for high school. So I just actually wanted to see what would happen. So I didn't do the coaching. I had an external coach. I wasn't allowed to as the researcher. Makes sense. But I was actually just blown away by the results, because I was optimistic myself, but thought I'm just going to take whatever I get. And when I saw the results, I was actually even more inspired. And it's such an amazing journey. I know it's a challenge in the beginning, but you'll love it. Once you get through that, and afterwards you look back and you go, wow, it was worth it. But while you're running that storm, like, no, I can't make it. Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, I can't deal. So, where do you see your business going within the next 1 to 3 years? I mean, where do you see yourself? Because obviously you've got the book out, you've started doing interviews and become this mega star. And
I've got the million.
So where do you see yourself going, Candice?
For me, it's about reaching more. I want to reach more students, and I'm finding different ways to do that. So even with the book, I'm looking at now developing sort of an online course to access more, but then also through talking at schools, working with schools, companies, universities, so for the business just to grow, to reach and impact more, and especially to a point where we can do a lot more sort of CSR projects as well, and reaching students who we maybe wouldn't always reach. And that's what I would really love to do. See the business grow in a way that we can impact students from all walks of life.
So like, who's like your main target market?
So at the moment, I work predominantly with private schools, private universities, and then corporates, companies as well. But yeah, for me, the nicest thing is there's a lot of organizations out there doing a lot of great work. So I'm working with a couple of NPOs, where they actually, they're getting funding so that we can then reach more students who maybe wouldn't have access to these things. So I'm very excited for that, to actually see it grow and just to help, because for me that's what it is. At the end of the day, I just get so excited to teach and to coach.
So like I can see you until like, you know, like 95 still still teaching, still coaching, still mentoring. I don't think it's something that's ever going to go away, right?
Oh no, absolutely, definitely not. I'll be there. I'm going to be running around driving the students mad.
Cool. So then how deep is your like sports knowledge of, like, you know, like football, basketball, cricket, rugby, all that? Like, how extensive is your knowledge?
So it's pretty good. Netball is brilliant. But I mean, being a sportsman myself, I follow a lot of sports.
Okay, cool. So who's the greatest basketball player of all time?
So, I mean, they always say Michael Jordan. But
watch yourself now. Watch yourself.
Okay, Michael Jordan is. I mean, his work ethic and his principles. But I mean, today, I mean, I was a Kobe fan.
R.I.P. Black Mamba,
absolutely. We did actually go watch the New York Liberty Women's League in Madison Square Garden a couple years ago.
You went to MSG?
It was so exciting.
I need to go myself.
It was an experience. I've never seen people so tall.
They're like giants, man.
Yes, but I mean, they played phenomenally. Their athletic skills are incredible.
So then, what was the highest level that you reached with in netball? Because it's a question I'm going to lead into.
Okay, so myself as a player. As a player, I played provincial, but indoor netball, not outdoor. But once I kind of achieved quite a bit of success there, and then after that I went into coaching. So I play socially now, but I love coaching.
You love coaching.
I'm addicted.
Because I think based on the conversations that we've had now, you enjoy coaching more than the actual playing part.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so what is the difference between being a player and a coach?
Wow, I think,
because you've done both, pretty much at a high level for both of them, so I'm sure you've got some insights to share there. What is the difference between a coach and a player?
So I mean, as the coach, it's really about observing the players and helping them where they are, helping them get to that next level, both individually and within the team. A lot of technical and strategy. Whereas as a player, you're obviously now doing the work of improving your skills and uplifting and encouraging your team as well. So, I mean, there are differences there, and being a player to me was a lot more emotional because my performance was so linked to my identity.
If you had a bad game, it means that you're a bad person. That's the
Absolutely.
link that you had, okay.
Oh my goodness, I put so much pressure on myself.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I suppose as a coach, your team is an extension of you as well. But you have to realize you only have so much control. So it's about giving them tools so they can go out there, do what they need to do, and you just hope that you've given them enough.
Okay, so then I'm trying to understand the mindset of an elite athlete, because I know you reach provincial level, right? That's still quite hectic, especially because I play tennis, right?
Okay.
Oh wow.
No, tennis is hard.
No, tennis is definitely hard.
Oh my goodness.
So then I got to, we won the Eastern's Tennis League with my trip here, which was like a very
fantastic.
big thing. Like, yay. But then there's a certain level, like there's levels to this, you know. What my tennis coach also always said, there's always someone better than you. I'm like, always someone better than you. I'm like, okay, well, I guess so. But for you to get to that point of provincial, Easterns, right? Easterns. So what mindset do you need to have to compete at that level? Because it's Disney Pop and Fleece.
No, definitely not. I think it's the mindset, like you just said, your tennis coach telling you someone's always better. Striving to get better yourself. I remember, and no one will believe me when I say this, but I used to enjoy practice more than play.
What?
I know, and
wow.
If you saw me practice, you'd understand. I loved practice because I knew I was getting better. And it was this mindset of the harder I practice, the better I'm going to play. And it did. It made it easier, and I was super fit. I mean, I was at gym every morning before school, training. Eventually, I used to train twice a day, 6 days a week.
Wow.
Because it was school netball, it was provincial. I played for 2 different age groups, like under 17 and under 21. And it was hectic, but I loved it. But the mindset was, I never sat there going, oh, I'm tired, or I can't do this, or woe is me. It was just go out there, give your best, train hard, play hard, enjoy it. And that helped me raise my game. And the harder I trained, the easier the games became.
Oh, that's good.
And that's so. And I mean, you know, tennis. The more you train, the easier it got, right?
Well, with tennis, I'm going to make the assumptions the same with netball. In order for your standard of play to rise, you need to play with people who are also better than you to push you, right?
Always.
Yeah.
So when are you playing against Federer? Anytime soon?
For Fed, listen, I called Roger Federer up and he was like, no, I don't want to lose. That's
He doesn't want to lose his
no,
track
he
record.
Doesn't want any of this. He doesn't want any of this. Playing against Federer, I'd actually love to do that. I mean, I saw Trevor Noah play with Federer and Nadal back then. I said, I want to do that one day. Maybe not at the same event, but I need to meet them and just play some strokes with them. I mean, the level that they play at is absolutely insane. I can't imagine being like a Rafael Nadal now or a Novak Djokovic now. I mean, they are just crazy in terms of their insane levels. So, knowing that you've been a player and that you will strive to get better yourself, is it tough to get someone to increase their performance and to get to a peak level as a coach?
I think there's a lot of different factors. So you definitely can get players to improve, and the players I've worked with, I've really helped them to grow in a lot of different ways. But it is a two-way street, and it's always about getting their buy-in. And often for me, it's about questioning their why. So at a school level, so I coach first team level, and you know, this is sort of under 18, and we've had a lot of success there. And often I'll say to them, so why? You know, are you pursuing this after school? I mean, we've had 2 of our players who are now playing semi-professional netball here. And one of the players both of them actually made the baby protea side as well.
Wow.
And the nice thing is they've got scholarships to universities, they've had so many more opportunities. So often when I sit down with a player, I'll say, so what is the why?
Okay.
Are you just playing to enjoy it? Are you playing because you want to achieve more? Do you want to get scholarships? What is it? And from there, I often get more buy-in, really connecting with the players. But I also I expect the best from our players, and that they always meet your expectations.
Yeah.
We always kind of laugh because I expect my players to be professional. I treat them like professionals.
Be on time.
Yes,
don't throw tantrums.
Absolutely.
Be easy to work with.
Yep. Highest respect towards your opponent, the umpires. You train harder than anyone else, and I'm trying to instill that in them because I know even though they might not be professional players, those qualities are going to help them in life.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But you see them improve, and that's what I love. I mean, when you coach and you see that growth, it's incredible.
That's crazy. So, as a coach, what kind of mindset do you need to have that is now shifted from being a high performance player, now you need to be a high performance coach? Two different things, I think. So I want to get your perspective on that.
So it was shifting from it's about me to it's about them. Quite difficult when you're in a player's mindset. It is about you as the player. Now as a coach, it's actually about them, the players, and a lot of different players. So adjusting the mindset to understanding they're all different and starting to understand each of them individually, which is a wonderful experience but can be really challenging at times.
Yeah.
And then being honest and being able to accept where you've made mistakes and where you're doing well, where you're not doing well, and where you need to learn. And for me, I have some phenomenal mentors in netball, and Dr. Elsie Jordan, who coached the baby Proteas and was a Protea herself.
Yeah.
She is a huge mentor for me in netball, and I mean she coaches elite level, high performance, and it's so nice to keep learning and growing. And so every year I'm learning from her, just so that I can become a better coach, because there's always a new experience, and you get thrown in, and you're thinking, oh, like how do I deal with this?
Yeah.
But it is a mindset shift, and it's something I think that you grow into. You learn as you go.
So you as a coach, you've got a coach.
Yes, coach has a coach, of course. You can't preach and not actually buy in, hey?
You need a coach. But man, where's your coach, man?
Coach, I can't come to practice today.
Exactly. So what has been the benefit of you being coached? Because now you've been a player, you've been a coach, now you've been a mentee, if that makes sense. Yeah. So now what's been the benefit of you being coached?
So it's taking the time to have somebody help you look more objectively, that whole you can't read the label from inside the bottle sort of thing. And having someone be objective and quite open, because I enjoy criticism. I would much rather have someone tell me in private, like, this is what you're doing wrong, let's fix it now, than you have a whole audience tell you, or spread it on social media. So it's so nice having a coach to open my eyes to where I'm doing things well, where I need to improve. And then it also makes you understand how the people being coached feel. So you can kind of understand from both perspectives, which definitely gives you an advantage.
All right, cool. So then we rewind to the 14-year-old Candice.
Yes. Oh my goodness, that was very long. A very long time ago.
You said it, not me. Right, so rewind to the 14-year-old Candice, who is now in, I think, grade 8 at that time?
Yes.
Yeah, you're starting high school, which can be the most confusing time outside of starting varsity. Okay, so now she's here, she has to listen to your advice. What is it that you tell her that you now know?
I think that it's all going to work out. I spent so much time worrying like that things weren't going to work out and putting pressure on myself. And now I look back and I kind of want to say to her, just relax.
Take it easy.
Yeah, just enjoy the ride. Don't be so worried. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Yeah. And actually, just enjoy it. Just have
Yeah.
fun with it, and know you will actually achieve the success you want. Because for a long time I was like, I just want it, but I can't get it. It's so
Yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be just relax, just enjoy it.
Just relax, take it easy. It's going to go by quite quickly. I remember when I was in grade 8, I think someone was a matriculant,
Yeah.
and they seemed like giants back then. Right?
Oh,
They
always.
seemed like giants. But then now, if I look at someone in matric, I'm like,
Cute. You are such a
cute.
youngster.
You Gen Z, you probably drink energy on TikTok all the time, aren't you? No, I'm kidding. They said, please enjoy it. I'm like, enjoy what? Be like your high school career. I'm like, why? Because it's gonna go by quickly. It's gonna go by quickly. I'm like, get out of here. Get out of here. I said this to him. Get out of here. I said, get out of here. I didn't believe him. 5 years later, I'm like, what? It's all gone. It's all gone. Now I must go to varsity. So I think at all stages in life, you're always rushing things. You always want things now, and you have a lot of time. I think Gary Vee said, you have a lot of time actually, and you're busy stressing and working hard and striving, and your life is going by while you're busy stressing over something that will eventually happen. My brother-in-law said to me while I was still in varsity, another piece of advice, he said, I'm like, yo, man, I'm busy stressing. I just want to graduate, man. I just want to graduate. It's like, enjoy the process. Why are you stressing over something that's going to happen? Just take it easy. Let's live your life for the fun, you know? So that's some insane advice. And then now you fast forward to the 16-year-old version of Candice. And now things are starting to become more practical. Now you're starting to start picking your subjects and where you're going to start specializing. And with this time, you're probably getting yourself at the gym to be, the Michael Jordan of netball. What advice do you give that version of Candice?
So I love that advice by Gary Vee as well, because it is, I think all of us are always rushing to the next thing, and I still catch myself doing that today. So my 16-year-old self, I think, is to keep doing what you're doing, because the journey really started there. So before then, I never used to read books. I wasn't a book reader. I was a netball player and a Sims player. I used to love the Sims.
Look at you now.
Look at that. And around 15
you used to play the Sims, oh yeah.
Oh, I love the Sims.
What were they actually saying? I don't know what were they actually saying. They were speaking whatever it is they were speaking. I didn't know. I'm like, how, John, what are you saying?
No idea. No, but they were so much fun. Get lost in the Sims. But that 15 or 16 is when I actually started reading. So my mom actually bought me the book The Secret, where it all started. And from there I was blown away. I remember reading it after a netball tour. And I sat there and I was like, I have control. Before then I always felt like everything else was just happening and I couldn't really control it. I was just at the mercy of fate. And when I read that book, it empowered me. For the first time in my life, I walked around confident. I wasn't worried anymore. I was like, okay, I'm in charge. I'll take responsibility. I'll create. And so for my 16-year-old self, it's to actually just keep doing what you're doing, because that's where it all started, where I started to find my love for books, for learning more, that sort of thing.
Okay, all right, fantastic, that's amazing. Then we move forward to your 18, 19-year-old self now. Finished, you left high school behind, you matriculated, which is a very big achievement in the scheme of things we find ourselves in the country. Now you're like, I'm in psychology now. Jung and Nietzsche and Freud. I'm not making sense.
Good stuff.
Pavlov and his dogs. I don't know. You're probably feeling frustrated and dejected. You're like, I don't know what life means. I don't know where I'm going to find myself. Now you're doubting your very existence in a psychology class.
There we go. Some really deep thinking happening here. Questioning my existential existence.
Existential crisis,
Yeah.
you know? And then probably having regrets to like, I did well in Netball. I crashed myself doing this and I studied so hard. Now I'm hating my life now. You go back to that version of Candice, 18, 19 years old. What do you tell her?
I tell her to buy her own book. Read it and apply it.
Yeah. But at that time, to be fair, the book hadn't been written.
Yeah, okay, true.
Yeah.
Okay, so we won't do this back to the future thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is to take action sooner and stop worrying about what other people think and stop letting that fear stop you. Because I think for a lot of time it was worrying about what other people think, and also I think that delayed gratification.
Yeah.
I did want that success so much sooner.
Yeah.
I was like, why are you taking so long? So I think for my 18-year-old self, I would just say start taking action, stop allowing fear to hold you back.
Yeah.
Big one, that seems, I suppose it's universal.
Yeah.
And to actually just focus on what you enjoy as opposed to this idea, well, society's idea of success. Make it success on your own terms.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Make it success on your own terms. That's what Inspired Success is about. That's success on your own terms.
Yeah.
That's what we need. Okay. So then now we fast forward to you've graduated. Around about what age was it?
It was 2014, so I was about 24.
You were about 24. Okay, great. So now you're about to start teaching.
Yeah.
Okay. What advice do you give that version of yourself?
It's an interesting one. The first one would actually be to save more money.
Save more money? For what? What do we save money for? We won't die eventually.
No, I always laugh and I look back and I'm like, oh. And I mean, I'm a big saver and investor. But that's one thing I would want myself to do a bit better. Again, it's action. And I think to not take yourself so seriously. I do take myself, I'm a very serious person at times.
Yeah.
I can take myself way too seriously.
Yeah.
So maybe that would be something my 24-year-old self needs to do, is just lighten up.
Yeah, lighten up. Like, listen, the number of people who are going to be at your funeral will be determined by the weather that day. Right? So just take it easy.
Like that.
Okay, so then now you've about 3 years into your career. At this point, you're about 27, 28-ish. Now you've got a degree in teaching because you've spent that time actually practically teaching it. Now, what advice do you give that person from the point of view of where you are now?
Sure. When I think that's sort of where all of this started, was sort of 2018, and I actually don't know what advice I would give myself, because I feel like at that point I really started gaining momentum.
Yeah.
I started doing things that I had been telling myself to do for the first 28 years. So I don't think I could have, I'm sure I could always do things better.
Of course.
But that was actually the sweet spot where I actually just kind of got over that hurdle and started taking the action and seeing the action lead to results. So I think I'd actually just say good job to my 28-year-old self and say keep going.
Good job. Fantastic. Right. So now let's say you've got a 14, let's say 16-year-old, because that's where pretty much our existential crises start around that, about that age, you know. Some later, some earlier, but like median. That's just what I don't have data to support this, but that's just what I think. So then you say, okay, here is a copy of the book, and then they say, where should I start? Which is the one key. You say you've got seven keys. 7 keys, right? So you'll say there was like, if there's only one key that I can't get wrong, I really can't get wrong. I mean, everything is key, right? But then if I lost this key, it's good. I'd be really lost. So which is this key that I absolutely cannot get wrong?
It's the first key,
The first
which
key.
is your superpower, your mindset.
Mindset, okay.
Definitely. I think, our biggest challenge and obstacle is often in our minds. It's
Yeah,
ourselves. And that it's the first key in the book, and it's one of the longest chapters. But it's if young people can get their mindset right in a way that they speak to themselves in a more encouraging way, and they actually train their mind to help them achieve success.
100%.
That to me is that if they can get that right, everything else will come.
Of course.
That is number one.
Yeah, because I mean, we like to make up stories in our mind. We like to make up struggles in our mind, hypochondriacs. Oh, the world is against me. The whole world is against me. The sky's for the whole world is against you. All of them. Like, all of them. Everyone. Yes, everyone. Like everyone. All 7 billion people. Everyone. They don't have their own issues. No. Can't be the whole world, right? And sometimes some of the things that we imagine to be challenges are not really challenges at all. So you imagine something going wrong, but it never actually happens.
Very much so.
Yeah.
We live in that worst case scenario, and we actually don't. Like Gary Vee, it's like actually you just enjoy your life. Stop being so busy. Stop being worried. Like just enjoy what's happening, and that starts in your mind. It starts up there. And I mean, you know this. You teach this all the time as well, and it's our biggest hurdle. And I find. So often I look at some of the students that I work with and I teach, and you can see that they are like holding themselves back by the way they're thinking. And I'm like, if I can just help you get that better, I know you'll feel better. You're not going to be pulled down by yourself. The world will try and pull you down enough already, so you have to kind of lift yourself. And if they can just see that, when you see these kids who are suicidal, and I want to say to them, it will pass. I promise it gets better. When we're young, we're so emotional. I remember like the smallest thing, you have a fight with your friend, it's the end of the world.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's awful, right? Like you feel so deeply when you're young.
Of course. I honestly wish I cared far less about certain people and things when I was younger. Oh my goodness, it's like you have a tiff with your quote-unquote best friend who's not going to be your best friend anymore. Exactly. And then you look back, I'm like, I wasted so much time. I would have rather been practicing my backhand. Now I'm busy having fun. How dare they,
And that is, it's mindset. And it's, I know we learn it with age. I get that, we do. But when I see those kids, I want to say to them, I'm like, don't worry, it's going to pass. I promise. The awful feelings that you have now, it gets better. And you don't understand it when you're in it.
No,
when you're in it, you're like, oh please, you know nothing. You don't understand what I'm going through.
You know my life? Yeah, I do.
I do. You just want to help them, because to me that must be horrible to feel that way. And the best is yet to come. Life gets so much better.
It does. It does. Now you're like, you're busy stressing about, I didn't get an invite to a party. What? What? The older you get, you don't want to go to their party, even if they invite you.
There's no time. No, I have to.
There's no time. I have things to do, like rather. 100%. And then I think, because I had episodes where I was suicidal as a teenager.
Wow, okay.
When I look back, I'm like, it was really tough. And then it was all in your mind, really, because you feel like, it would be easy if I was dead, or I don't know how I'm going to overcome this challenge, only to find out that I was really having first world problems, and I didn't have a different view of what I was going through. Yeah, some of it was a lot of emotional turmoil. It was factual there. However, nothing I feel that I can ever go through is ever worth me taking my life. That's just me. Other people have different views, but then that's what I arrived at. And then I listened to a speech by Malcolm X. He was like, think about this. Think about this different perspective to problems. You have a problem, like someone else has a problem that they can't swim. Let's say you and I both have the same problem. We both can't swim. Now, you are in the bathtub and you can't swim, and I'm in the middle of the ocean and I can't swim. So who has
who actually has the
who
problem?
actually has a problem? And then that from that I got, I'm like, just not to diminish your own pain or problems.
Yeah.
Just give a different perspective to it, to say, actually, it's not that bad. It's really, really not that bad. And there's always a way around it. And I think one of the work that you're doing, coaching and speaking to kids, is that most of the problems that they're having is in their mind, and they have not been able to verbalize it to someone. Life changes when you can talk to someone about it and write about it, and then you're like, actually, life is not that bad.
Yeah. It is, it's that perspective, and that's, they always say, you know, comparison. We compare ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
And when we actually put those problems in perspective, it does help. And having someone to help us, because sometimes you might be like, oh, this shouldn't be a problem, you know, I have food on the table, I've got a beautiful life, but it's still real for you in that moment. And sometimes you just need someone to talk to say to you, no, it's okay, you can feel this, but now, you know, hit you upside the head and say, okay, you've got so much, let's use it.
It's about time. Yes, 100%. I'm not gonna get up, you know.
Yeah, so I think that's for me, and I mean, it is just help, because no matter what, whenever you're going through a problem, what do? We isolate. We go away from everyone. And that's the worst thing, because the minute you're with someone and you hear they have the same problems with you as you do, or similar, you're like, oh, I'm normal.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
What, you get invited to? Oh, me too.
Me too.
Let's hang out together.
Yeah, and it does. You can still feel the pain and the emotional hurt, but you start to realize that you can be stronger with somebody else as well, and you can learn from it, and you've got support.
Yeah, of course.
We love support. It really is a healer.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So then, now this same kid comes up to you and says, listen, I've got my mindset right, things are better, okay, and fantastic. Now, what is the second most important key that I need to digest?
So, second most important, the other six. I think, so they lean a lot on each other.
Yeah.
Because one of the biggest ones to me is then taking action. But obviously, taking action, especially small, consistent action.
Okay.
For me, I'm all about that, doing small little things every day that over time add up. But, you know, it doesn't help drinking a little bit of alcohol every day. That's not going to lead you in the right direction.
No, let's not do that.
It's like, what action?
Yes.
So the second key is values and knowing what you want. I lamented this when I was in grade 12, is I don't know what I want to do, and I can be anything, and I can do anything, and what do I do? Like, won't someone just tell me what to do?
Yeah.
And I hear this a lot, and it's because there's just so many options. There's overwhelm, and a lot of the time, especially young people, they don't make a decision because they're overwhelmed. So that's that whole paralysis, like there's too many choices, I don't know what to eat at this restaurant. I give up. You tell me.
Just go for the chicken, just go.
And that is, like, no one can make that decision for you.
100%.
So it's looking at values, which you spoke about earlier, and deciding for you that whole success on your own terms. And this was a big thing Jenny Shee said. So success on your own terms, I always follow her, she's awesome. And it's once they know what they want, not for their mom and their dad, not for society, not for their best friend.
Not for them.
Yeah, but for them. And that's not always easy, because a lot of it for me, becoming a teacher wasn't cool. You know, there was no status to being a teacher.
Yeah.
And when you're young, unfortunately, status is important.
Yeah.
But when I actually went, I don't care, I actually want to do this, and I love doing it, and I'll give it my own status.
Of course.
Right?
100%.
But now I do what I love. No one has to get up and live my day except me.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the second key for young people, is to figure out and decide what they want to do. So Warren Buffett, there's that famous story with his chauffeur, where
I haven't heard this one.
there's a chauffeur driving Warren Buffett somewhere, and he asks him for like the best advice. And Warren Buffett says, write down everything you want to achieve in your life on a piece of paper, and then I think pick the top 3 and scrap the rest, and focus on those top 3 only until you've achieved it, and then you look at the others. Because so often we're just everywhere. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to, and then you never land up doing anything. It's the best because you can only catch one rabbit at a time. One of my mentors, Lisa Illingsworth, told me that. And it's if young people can figure out what they want, and it doesn't have to be this perfect image. So I didn't have this clear idea I wanted to be a teacher doing stuff. I wanted to teach, and that's molded and changed a lot, but I'm still doing what I love every single day. So if they can figure out what they value, what they most want in life, what they most want to feel, and then pick something and just pursue it with wholeheartedly. And that's a big one, because then you can take the actions and do all that other stuff once you know where you're going.
100%. That's sage advice. That's sage advice. I'll take that advice. So I'm not too sure if this still exists among high school kids and varsity kids, even though many have reached out saying that they want coaching after the talk that I give. You're a business, treat yourself. But I'm like, do you have 15,000 rand for it?
They'd be like,
And then, like, you see the way my bank account is set up, the thing is. But one of the questions that I have now, because is around, peer pressure and lane watching. It is immense. Even our age group, I mean, it's still massive. People who are in the 50s are still going through peer pressure and keeping up with the Joneses. I don't know who the Joneses are. I've never met them. I don't know why they're important, but people want to keep up with the Joneses. Okay, so maybe someone for 5 marks could tell me who the Joneses are, right? But is peer pressure still a prevalent thing in that age group? Because I haven't been in touch with them for quite a while.
Definitely.
Is it?
And I think social media has made it worse.
Okay.
Because of that whole, you go on social media, you're getting that rush of dopamine, and then you're seeing other people living these lives, right? And we know what people post. No one posts themselves crying in a corner after they've had a really bad day. We post ourselves living the life, and we don't post, I'm awake at 4 o'clock in the morning at gym working hard, or some people do, but
some do,
but it's not always. We post when we feel good, we don't post when we feel bad, and I think kids see that, and then they see these idealizations, and then they feel that judgment and that pressure in a large extent, to a large extent.
Cool. So then the same 16-year-old has come to you. Okay, fine. I have got my mindset right. I've started to take the action. I'm living my life myself. I've finished all 7 of the keys. Amazing. Now I'm like, she's like, he, doesn't matter. I'm feeling overwhelmed because I have this incessant need to compare myself to others. What do you say to that person there?
So I cover that a bit in that mindset part, because it is important, and the value part is that you need to be true to yourself. I think it is a proverb that you go into the box alone. You die without anyone or anything, and all those other things that you thought mattered didn't. But it is quite a tricky one to tackle, because a lot of it is getting the right mindset, and then also I like to sometimes shift the focus away from self and say to them, well, what value do you have to add, and how can you add that? Because when we move away from focusing on ourselves and what people think of us, and we think, well, how can I serve? How can I help others? We tend to also stop thinking about ourselves so much. But it's quite a tricky one. I think it's a bit of a journey to help a young person shift that mindset to actually not be as influenced by that, and to start listening to that inner voice and saying, this is for me, this is what I want. And what's weird is when we do that, when we live authentically, people are drawn to us naturally. And you kind of just carrying on, and people are like, wow, I resonate with you because you are brave enough to live like this. So it's quite a catch-22.
100%. So now you are imagining yourself 15 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
15 years from now, and just project all the experiences that you would have had and things you would have gone through. What would that look like, and what advice would that person give to you today? I know it's a very, very abstract, back to the future, endgame, time traveling, esoteric type concept, but what I'm trying to get is what you think yourself in the future would tell you today.
Again, stop worrying. Because there's still
Stop worrying and
happens.
start living.
Yeah. And I like that idea of slowing down and being happy now.
Mm-hmm.
So funny enough, it's one of my keys that I teach, and it's something that I do try to live by.
Yeah.
But I find even now, especially now that I'm hustling with
Yeah.
so many different things.
Every day I'm hustling.
Yeah.
Every day I'm hustling. Yeah.
You know, so much, you get caught up in that,
Mm-hmm.
and you forget to actually just sit down and actually just enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Just enjoy sitting here with you,
Yeah.
doing something I've never done before.
Yeah.
So I think
That's
you
what
know,
I do, people. That's what I do. Give people new life experiences. That's what I do.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that in 15 years, I think I would be giving myself that, saying enjoy the moment,
Mhm.
and again, it's going to come. Everything that you're working towards, and just keep building good relationships.
Yeah.
I find building those relationships that will last over time are so
Yeah.
important. Oh, and look after your health.
Yes.
I have been neglecting this side of my life a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I'm like, I know in 10 years, in 10 years time, that person's not going to thank me for what I'm doing today.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
I kind of think, I'm like, okay, what would myself in 10 years thank me for
Yeah,
today?
Yeah, because I mean, it's such a fault to all of us. Sort of let ourselves go after, especially after lockdown. It was all a dream. It was supposed to be just 21 days. It was supposed to just be 21 days, and then it didn't turn up being 21 days. We're still sort of in a form of lockdown of some sorts. It's been like 2 years. Come on, government. No, I'm kidding. So you speak about financial literacy and mistakes. So what are some of the financial mistakes? You said you wish you would have saved earlier, so I'm not going to touch on what some of the financial mistakes you made. What are some of the financial mistakes you see some of your clients make? And I'm not going to say not have a budget, because that is the most obvious one. Well, maybe it's not obvious. Sometimes the obvious is not obvious until you make it obvious. But other than not having a budget, what are some of the financial mistakes that people make?
So South Africans are a buy now, pay later society in general.
Yes, that's me too. Yes, yes, I admit it. I admit my sins.
Admitting it is the first step. 21-day program starting today in Jabulo.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, wow. But like, really, I'm going to be dead honest. It's like, come on. Yeah, I mean, it's a pervasive thing. So we're a buy now, save later, or pay
later.
Yeah.
We love credit, and we get it a bit too easily in this country.
Yeah.
And that is a problem. So a lot of young people get into debt right at the beginning of their financial journey, and they actually, it's like literally digging a hole and then putting yourself in a hole before you can even start. And that's quite hard, because we live in a country where there's not, we actually sitting in a time where there's now going to be a lot of first generation millionaires, first generation entrepreneurs, in bigger numbers.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's good, right?
It's awesome.
Okay, good.
But we want more people like that, because a lot of people are missing out on that because of this debt that they get into early. And we want more first generation millionaires to then create generational wealth and obviously habits they can then pass on to the next generation and the next, so that it grows. But debt, there's a big debt crisis. Even our so-called middle class, I mean, they faded away during COVID. Well, it shrank because everything, they've got the big house, the big car, but it's all in debt.
And now
it's gone.
Yeah.
And it's problematic because we don't sleep well at night. We don't understand the cost of debt. Debt is not a bad thing. Listen, you can use debt wisely to grow, but if that debt is helping you grow your income, great. But if it's actually just digging you in a hole, that's not the ideal.
Listen, Candice, I want my 75-inch screen TV. Are you telling me that getting it on credit is not a good idea?
No, of course not. Unless that TV screen is going to help you make some money.
No, I'm there to play my PlayStation.
No. We can make money playing games. So now we can start talking about how do we turn that into an income stream.
Of course.
So debt's a big thing. And because we get into so much debt, we then don't save.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, when we think about wealthy people, we think about celebrities, we think about Michael Jordan, we think about Bill Gates and
Rihanna.
Yes, Rihanna. We think about, these people who...
Rihanna, shout out. Can I get you on the show, please? I just want to talk about how you made that billion. That's what I want to talk about. Shout out to Rihanna.
Oh, no. We often think about those people and we think that's how you get rich.
Yeah.
But that's not how you get rich. Most millionaires they just did simple things like saved money, invested, and you can actually become a millionaire quite not easily. I use the word easy, but it's small, insignificant things. If you save 200 Rand every month, I think it's 20 years, you then have R1 million.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I posed this challenge to my family. And I say to them, okay, look, I've got some wealthy family members. If you invest
I'm looking for some sponsorship. I need some gear.
I'll hook you up, okay? But they better be saving and investing. So
they can give that saving and investing here.
There we go. Get a return. Hey, you're a good investment,
of course.
So if you invest, you think about how expensive kids are, right? But now when you're wealthy, you kind of give your kids a lot of stuff, a lot of toys and go on holiday and unnecessary things. If you invested 3,000 Rand, I know it's a lot, every single month in a tax-free savings account for the first 15 years of their life. Okay. They will have 3 million Rand by 15.
By 50?
15, 1-5.
Did you say 1-5?
Yes. Wait. Have I got my calculation correct? No, I'm lying to you. Am I lying? Now you're making me doubt myself. I did this calculation the other day. I think so. If you invest it, it'll be
from the day they're born, right?
From the day they're born. So in South Africa, you can invest 3,000 Rand every single month, or 36,000 Rand per financial year, up to 500,000 Rand in a lifetime. Okay. So if you invested 3,000 Rand a month, that would take about 15 years, give or take. Okay. Once it's invested, you never want to take it, not never, but you want to leave it, because whatever it grows to is then tax-free.
Tax-free.
Now you imagine, there are calculations. I actually did this calculation the other day. I'm sorry, it just escaped me. But online, there's lots of calculations. I'm pretty sure it was 1.3 million. Or it was when they are age 25. You'd give them. You could give your kid, it might be 25. So you're investing. But imagine turning 25 and your parents gave you 1.3 million.
I wish.
Could you imagine?
I can.
Now imagine leaving that. And when you're 65, it's worth like 30 or 40 million tax-free.
Tax-free.
And
so SARS can't come and say they want.
Nope. SARS have to leave that money. And that's the power of compounding. Now not everyone has 3,000 Rand per month.
I get you.
But it's not this huge thing. But over time, it's incredible.
Yeah, I'm making the decision personally. We're having this debate with a colleague of mine. She saw an interview with a 7-year-old who had just written a book. Makes you feel good about your life, right?
Oh wow! One day when I grow up to be 7.
When I grow up to be 7, she'll probably say to her kids, "When I was 7 years old, I was 25."
Oh, shame those poor kids! Imagine having to live up to that.
Exactly, I know, right? So. My friend was making the observation that this kid is so articulate and so well put together in a thought process, and then she went and she looked at the school that she went to. It's a pretty prestigious school in Sandton. I think it's like Kingsmead, one of those schools. That school. I'm like, I know the school quite well. She looked at the fees. I'm like, the fees are so expensive. I'm like, no, expensive is relative, right? So she's like, I feel so depressed because I won't be able to send my kids to these expensive schools, and they're not going to have the future that they have. And I'm like, okay. And then she also said that having kids is expensive. My argument is this: yes, kids can cost, but I think parents make kids expensive in the sense that they always want to buy them PlayStation 89, or they want to buy them Air Jordans, or they want to buy them all these things that some kids don't really care. They don't really care. Instead of and also send them to a certain school because of just the name of the school, not necessarily the quality of the quality of the education. When I got to varsity, I was like, okay, I went to a very great school. I should be right. I'll be wiped off the academic floor by those who went to just like normal schools. I'm like, what is the difference that's going on here? And then when I spoke to them, they were like, at home, we were forced to learn, to study, to manage our finances, they were basically having home seminars on how the kids would be disciplined. And now they're doing quite well in life. So I said, okay, all right, I'm not going to send them to a Harvard level school when they're like 5 years old. What am I doing? I'd rather teach them, because I think the most important things what happens in the household. I'd rather teach them that and give them Candice's book, read that and apply it, right? And then I'd rather do what you just said I should be doing, is put money aside so that when they're 15, when they're 25, when they're 35, 50, they are financially set. And because of the mindset that they want to have, they're not going to be the next contestant or person on the show I Blew It.
Yeah, because that's a big thing. If they didn't work for it either, then it's the whole thing, well, did it come too easy? Because you and I know when you've worked for something, you value it a lot more.
The harder you work, the harder it is for you to surrender.
But like you say, you can teach them the mindset, so that if they do now get all this money, they know what to do with it. So you can, and that's important. It's education comes from all different places. So what is some of the things that you invest in? You yourself personally? Me, myself. So I've got a full portfolio. So I invest across a lot of different assets, a lot of shares, and then property. I love property. So I've got 2 properties now that they're still going to take time to be paid off. But the nice thing is I'm using debt as leverage to then use OPM, other people's money, to then pay that off. I invest offshore and locally, but a lot more locally because I believe in this country.
SARS, go fetch her, she's
Oh no, they knocked on my door earlier this year. Go away. Go away.
They're very good at taking your money, but without to pay.
Oh my goodness, how long does that take?
That took, for me, it took like 4 months.
Yeah, me too.
I'm like, but you guys are so efficient.
When they need money.
I'm going to go complain to them. It's my rights as South African citizens, my constitutional rights. I don't know where it is in the Constitution, but it's probably there.
It's in the fine print, the bottom.
The fine print,
So I have a financial advisor, an independent financial advisor, because I actually started investing when I was 15.
What's an independent financial advisor?
So they're not linked to any company like an Old Mutual or a Discovery. They are independent of that. So they will look for the best product for me across those. So when I started investing when I was 15, I went through a company, like an affiliated company. And then as I grew my financial knowledge, I realized that that's not always the best option because they only try and sell you their products. And I mean, some of their products are great. But so now I've got an independent financial advisor who will look across and then helps me to invest, because I still don't know enough in the sense of I'm still learning about a lot of those things. So I do invest my own money as well. I play a lot on easy equities. EE. I love
Shout
easy
out
equities.
To Charles Savage. I didn't get him on the show actually.
You really should.
Actually, I haven't spoken to him in a while.
Easy equities is awesome. So while I was building my knowledge, I invest, and now I'm doing stuff for myself, but I've got an advisor who helped me take out my first retirement policy at 15. At 15, I got my first job coaching netball, and my mom was like, you are going to save some of this money.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I started investing there, and I was like, oh, I mean, I still can't touch that money. If I die a day before I turn 55, I'm going to be so upset.
Well, if that happens, I'll be there. So.
There we go. Where is her will? I saw her. She signed it at the podcast that day.
Yes.
So the financial advisors help me, and I understand a lot about what I'm invested in. And I've got some commodities. I've played with crypto. So I do have some Bitcoin and Ethereum and USD coin.
I'm sure you wanted to kill someone at the beginning of this year.
nice thing for me is it's that sort of experimental.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's sort of, I put a little bit of money there to see what happens.
Some of us, all of our money there.
Oh, no. Portfolio.
I get you. I get the portfolio, but it's been very profitable for me.
Okay.
In my defense, because I started in that area around 2015, because I always love like anything that's got to do with digital.
Okay.
I think that is the future. Well, that's always been my mindset. So then got together with a group of mentors, and I'm like, okay, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, all these things, future of money. Are you in or out? I'm like, okay, fine, I'm in.
Yeah.
One of the biggest mistakes I made was taking out some of it before it really appreciates in value.
Okay.
So I'm still kicking myself there. I'm like, man, I could be on a yacht. Not really, but you know what I mean?
But yeah.
Yeah, so then
hard knocks.
Yeah, hard knocks. But then I think that the end of this year, I think I'm going to diversify just to make things safe. After the beginning of this year, I'm like, let me diversify. Yeah.
And where are you diversifying to? What are you interested in?
I'm interested again in property. So I made a deal with myself that when I released the third book, because I invested quite a lot in the books and traveling. You see, I went to go to Tony Robbins seminars.
So jealous.
Those things, don't be jealous until you see the bill.
But the experience.
No, the experience.
Wow.
The experience that cost quite a sum. I invested quite a sum there, and so I keep on investing in knowledge assets like this, the podcasts, the seminars, the books, the courses, see what works and what doesn't work. That's where my investment portfolio is in personal development. When the third book is finished, that's when I'm like, right, now it's time for me to go into property and really think about how I'm going to make it work there. Fortunately, I met someone 5 years ago. He used to run a big property company in Dubai.
Okay.
He used to make like $330 million a year. I'm like, wow, but he left because it's too stressful. You can imagine that being stressful. Wow. So I'll hit him up and be like, yo, so what about that house? So I want to diversify there. And then I read, there's an app called Lucid. Do you know the app called Lucid? Are you Android or iOS? iOS, fantastic. That's the only iOS. That's the only software that you actually use. There's a book. So like it's like, you know, like Blinkist and Headway.
Yes.
Not Headway. No, it's Blinkist and Lucid. So what it is like a 15-minute book summary. So what they do, they visualize books. They have a team. They condense books and they visualize it. So I'm like, there's a book called The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham.
That's a big book.
It's massive, but I haven't finished it. I went to read the Lucid version of it. That was like 20 minutes, and it's like pictures and it's like interactive. You should look into it and maybe do something like that for your online content and courses.
That sounds awesome.
And you say when you invest in a company, you should invest for value, because people have, even following your advice, they can go and make a poor judgment call and say, I'm going to invest in this company, and you know they say it's worth $9 billion, but it was actually worth $1.
Yeah.
Because people speculated that it's worth 9. It's actually worth 1, so they say invest for value. So for me, it's like the S&P, Satrix, the JSC, property, and that's where I want my portfolio to go, and also invest in my own business as well, so I can keep on growing. But those are like the safe options, the proven options that work. Yeah, so that's where I'm looking to diversify into at the end of this year.
That's awesome, and personal investment is the best investment.
Yeah.
Because once you know how to make 1,000, you can make
10.
You can make 10 million.
$10 million. I think I should make $10 million, and so I can just blow it all. Like I've already done it, so I can start again.
No,
I don't know what this compulsion is. Can save me from myself.
You've got to go listen to a podcast with Grant Cardone. Is it
Grant
Cardone or Cardone?
Yeah,
he is awesome.
He's crazy.
Some of the stuff he says, I go a little, whoa, I don't know, that like challenges me in new ways. But I mean, that's that sort of thinking.
10x, like a 10x thinking. Yeah.
He dumps all his cash at the end of every financial year, so that he actually starts the year with no cash. So then he has to work because there's no cash.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah.
He's definitely crazy. So we're at the point of a show now where you get to ask me questions. So you you get to ask me questions, things that you want to know about, something about the things I'm thinking. Just 1, 2, 3. maybe 4 questions. It's up to you. Yeah.
Okay, you're giving me too much power.
Da, da, da.
Okay, what is the greatest lesson you have learned? Kind of since school or pursuing your dreams of your life, what's the biggest lesson or what has been the most influential sort of lesson for you?
The biggest lesson is that you're right, to me, that I'm right.
Okay.
In trusting my intuition,
Yeah.
I'm right. So I was actually ruminating over this yesterday, asking myself, what are the things that I regret since I was let's say 7, and I regret having started something that I believed in and then stopping because maybe my mother didn't approve, or my dad didn't approve, or my sister didn't approve, or a friend didn't approve. But for me, I knew it was the right thing. And times when I really didn't care what they thought, it turned out to be the most rewarding thing. An example of when I was 12, I was very into Dragon Ball Z, right?
Okay, cool.
Dragon Ball Z, Kamehameha. Vegeta's my favorite character, by the way, Principal Saiyans, yes. I started drawing pencil drawings. I started drawing them, and then I got really good at that. And my dad wasn't as approving of it. It's like, why don't you go do something else? Like, what do you spend all these hours doing this for? And then, but I loved it so much that I didn't really care what he thought.
Yeah.
Then I got into art and I started doing charcoal drawings, and then I carried on with my art journey. It taught me to think creatively and critically, and then I ended up being top of my art class at the end of matric. And then I looked back, and then he was like, "Oh, you're actually quite good at this thing. Well done, well done, well done." That artistic thought process has carried on through how I put podcasts together, how I manage projects, how I write books, and how I just am creative in my field of endeavors. And I asked myself, what would have happened had I just listened to what my dad said there, or his criticism because of something he didn't understand.
Yeah.
It's not that he was being mean or mean-spirited. That's with pretty much a lot of people who criticize things that you're doing. They don't really understand what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
And then I look back at things that I stopped, and I'm like, I shouldn't have actually stopped that. Because the things that I really believed in, they're not crazy stuff like, being on drugs or, getting drunk all the time. That's not that you stop.
Yeah, that's bad
but
stuff.
I'm talking about like certain ideas.
Yeah.
It's like with crypto now, people are like, this thing makes no sense. Had I listened to them, the investment wouldn't be as much as it is right now. Then I'll be kicking myself. And then also with writing the books and the speaking, when I have that hunch and I think about it, I'm probably right, and I should probably go through with it, regardless of what other people will say. Because the first book, people were like, "This is hard, this is crazy, why are you doing it?" I was like, "Shut up, I don't care, I'm gonna do it." Now they're like, "That's a good book, hey?"
It was an awesome book.
Of course, yeah. And then the second one, then the next one, then the next one.
Yeah.
And then people are really enjoying it, and then now people know me more than as an author, even though I'm like, yeah, I am an author, but it's like, that's just not just what I wake up and do every day, but I'm known for it.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest lesson that I've learned throughout this entire journey, that certain things that I feel really strongly about, like in your quiet moments, probably right. Yeah. But obviously, okay, you find out if it's wrong, but like if it's wrong, at least find out later on that it's wrong, not go years and then figure out that you were actually right, but then you stopped yourself. Now you need to start again, and all that time that has been wasted. So I think, and also like I've seen that intuition kick in at work, or with having a conversation with somebody, or when delivering a talk or delivering a presentation. You're probably right to sit and think, maybe I should write about this topic, maybe I should speak to the person, maybe I should consult with that. So then I'm at the point now where I'm like, I'm really going to think deeply about the things that I'm doing, and if people don't really get it or understand it, I don't care, because I'm probably going to be right. And this is not me saying I'm right all the time. No, I'm talking about things I've thought deeply about that resonate with my own soul.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it, and then face the consequences of other people's judgments or their criticisms, or them questioning why it is that you're doing what you're doing. It's like, because I've got to do it, you know? And then I'm probably going to, and I have to, and you know, you live with your own self.
Yeah.
You live with the consequences of your own inaction. It's only between you and you that you know that I actually could have been at this level had I carried on, and the only person who stopped me was myself.
Yeah.
Other people can say what they want to say. It's like, you know, being on Twitter and then people say whatever it is that they want to say. I don't care about Twitter that much. It's not a real place anyway. But like, one thing I've noticed is that Candice, when people who criticize you the most and it's not constructive at all, they're not really doing much with their own lives. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like if you write a book, it's not Beyonce that's coming and saying, Candice, why are you writing a book? No, she's making her own millions.
Yeah.
It's normally the people who don't have that much time to do and who are not living inspired lives that are going to criticize and hate, not really hate on you, just try to stop you from reaching your own potential because they don't understand.
Yeah.
If they understand it, then things are going to be better. So that's the lesson I've learned since. And then when I've got successes, when I've had successes, I'm like, I told you. This is me looking in the mirror. I told you.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Exit stage left until Thursday. Yeah. So
yeah, which is amazing, and it's so like the people who criticize it, it's just not for them. Whereas you'll get those fans who believe in what you're doing because you're helping them.
Exactly.
And that's what's so fantastic.
100%. Imagine if Trevor Noah listened to what people would say, they were telling you.
Oh gosh, like you'd never become anything because you can never.
Yeah.
And what I found, like, I don't know if you found this on your journey as well, is that you start to find people who are doing things like that we're doing, and then they're so supportive and they're so encouraging, and it's so nice.
It's good because like not everyone is for you.
Yeah.
Not everyone loves Magnum.
No.
They don't love the Magnums.
Magnums.
Yes, yeah. The almond Magnums, death by. The mint. See what I'm saying? So that's the thing. I mean, the people who are going to be for you will be for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
The people who don't like you, they won't like you. Don't even try. Yeah. I think it was Robert Kiyosaki who said, and again, this is not scientific, but then I think this is good advice. He said 33% of people won't like you no matter what you do. Okay, you could invent the next version of air. They will not like you. 33% of people will always like you no matter what. You can mess up, like your mom, she's like you're a big fan of you. And like if you mess up, she'll be like, what can we do? It's Candice, like that's my kid.
I'll still like you.
I'll still like you, I'll still like you. And then 33%, the other third, they don't care either way. So the only thing that you can do is spend the other third of your time convincing or spend the other time that you have convincing this third to be for you. The other 32% you will never. So like don't waste time on people who won't be for you because not everyone will be for you. Even like the people who consider the greatest of the greatest, they're still being criticized, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And for you now, going forward, what's next? What is the next big venture or adventure that you are looking forward to?
I want to go to space. No.
Richard Branson, I want to go to space.
Elon, no, I want to put Elon. You know, they say Elon Musk is on course to be the world's first trillionaire in a couple of years from now.
Trillionaire, and I read that Amazon is going to make something like $3 trillion a day eventually.
A day.
A day, like at the way that their revenue is going.
Hey, brother Jeff, that's very insane.
Okay, so now you're going into space, yeah?
No. I actually would like to go to space, just space and then come back.
Okay.
Not Mars.
Okay.
It's a 3-year journey to get there, and then 3 years to come back, and then hopefully you can survive there.
No, it's too much of a risk.
It's too much of a risk. It's okay, no worries. So for me, the next big adventure is this is pure out of interest. I'm doing a master's straight into PhD on the topic of ministry. Why? Because it's interesting, and I feel that we've been lied to. When I say we've been lied to, it's that information that we've been presented. I don't feel that's the full story. And I've got a colleague who he's a software developer, right? He's a software engineer. He's head of engineering, and he has a PhD where he took Hebrew and Aramaic and just analyze all the scriptures to see which verse matches up with which verse, and he's atheist. So I'm like, what? Why? Because like you need to know what you're talking about. So then that's the next challenge. The next one immediately that I can tell you is the third book.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Father of Man. You know, Wordsworth said, "Child is the father of man," which is a paradox, because how can a child father of man? Because normally it's the father who provides the seed so that the child can be born.
Yeah.
But what Wordsworth was talking about there is that your childhood experiences and young adult experiences shape who you are right now. So if you have self-confidence issues, probably can be traced back to when you were young. If you've got stuttering problems, can be traced back to when you were young. If you've got issues with money, probably can be traced back to when you were young.
Yeah.
So I've been going on a journey of really unpacking my own childhood and my own young adult life to see what has been stopping me and what has been a challenge for me.
That must have been interesting.
It was traumatic.
Interesting in like an emotional
an emotional way, because you become more balanced about life really. Then I really got tired of this whole narrative thing. I'm sure you've heard of this, men are trash. I'm like, yeah, okay, so what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
Am I next? What are we going to do about it? You got men aren't doing anything for us. Okay, so what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
And then I came to the conclusion, because every time I write a book, I'm solving a problem for myself and a problem that other people have.
Yeah.
When I wrote Inspire Success, I'm like, okay, so how do I become successful? When I wrote You Are a Business, I'm like, I got a funny story about money there and Inspire Success. So over the course of 3 months, I made hundreds of thousands of rand because I was like so enthusiastic, and and then I was like, oh, look at all this money. And then somebody asked me, yeah, how much did you make? My dad.
Yeah.
Asked me, how much did you make? I told him, it's like, oh wow, where's my cut? It's like, there is no cut. It's like, where is it? It's like, yeah, I spent it all. It's like, So after that, I said, okay, let me start taking myself seriously as a business. So then I solved the problem, still living that out. So that book gave rise to this podcast and to YouTube, because I want to have a bigger vision for myself, right?
Okay.
Then with this one, I'm going to the next stage of my life where I really want to be the best man possible. And I did not know what that was. It's true to God, I didn't know what that was. And then there was an outbreak of gender-based violence. It was training for quite a while. This lady was murdered, and then trended, and then more stories came up, and then people were like, men are trash. Then I started really thinking. I've been thinking about this since the end of 2019. What is a better man? No such thing as perfect men, but what is a better man? And I've realized that men can be trash and women can be trash. Both of them. I think it's a human condition.
Yeah.
So the very first part of it, because I always have 5 keys. That's just me. The first part, I go, let's unpack what happened in your child, heal your inner child, because that will start the process of you growing and figuring out what a real man is and all that stuff. So that is the next immediate challenge. I'm looking to finish it by the end of to launch by the end of September, latest November, and that's going to be the next big challenge for myself. Then I can start investing in property, and then I want to go on like a world tour next year. Just take a sabbatical and just tour the world and go and give lectures and all that. That's what I want to do.
That is incredible. I mean, that's so exciting, and this book sounds so needed. I remember reading a quote, because I've always been feminist and pro-woman, and there was a quote, and it was like, you don't have to be anti-man to be pro-woman.
You don't.
We shouldn't
100%.
be pulling each other down.
No, you don't.
So I can't remember who said that. I do remember the quote though, and I think that's going to be a really interesting and exciting adventure. Candice, my life's been tough, eh? Yeah. I'd be writing sometimes, and then I'd start crying. Well, not like a professional mourning. Yay! No. I'd start having tears coming out. I just need a break, and I just go sit and think, because unpacking your childhood is
stressful.
Yeah.
It is, and you relive whatever traumas it is that you went through, like deaths in the family, things where things didn't go the way that you wanted to. Even the time you were so depressed and suicidal because you didn't get that invite.
Oh, that invite.
That invite. So you know what I mean? And then also it's a lot of pressure because I'm touching with ideals. An ideal is something that you work towards that you probably will never reach.
Yeah.
But it's at least putting you towards something. So it's been really difficult. And then what made me introspect a lot more was in 2020, my father passed away. And then things came out about him that I'm like, oh wow, now he's humanized. Like he's actually human.
Yeah.
And then I also got married. So now it's like now I'm growing to be a husband, and Freud said that a man cannot be a man until his father dies. So that now you're forced to be a father, your own father, because even when both your parents are alive, you still have to be your own mother and your own father, because there's a point where they can stop they can't actually parent you anymore. You have to parent yourself. All right. So that's been the tough thing, me thinking about this, and the most interesting part where you talked about an adventure, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. The part about being an adventure is, I'm sure you know Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
Dr. Jordan Peterson. Yeah, I need to get him on the show actually. JP, come on now. I'm a big fan. This way he said he's got 12 rules for life. And then I think it was his 8th rule, his 4th rule, whichever one it was. He said, tell the truth, at least don't lie. I've been really meditating and thinking about that for the past 3 months. Tell the truth, at least don't lie, which means always strive to tell the truth, or don't say things that you know are lies. Okay. And that is really difficult because we lie to ourselves the most.
All the time.
All the time. Yes. That invite didn't matter. Lying, it mattered to you for some reason.
This one chocolate won't hurt.
It won't hurt you. Lie.
One more, just one.
Yeah, and also the people living lies. For example, they'll be studying psychology for 10 years when they're not supposed to be studying psychology. They'll become a musician where they just want to be a painter, you know.
Yeah.
And then also people who are not unpacked, are really take a deep introspection, and sometimes you believe a lie that you don't tell yourself, but you just were told it, and now you believe it, and now you carry on living it, and now you're telling yourself that lie. And if you build yourself from what the things that you say, and if you tell the truth, you become a wholesome person. But if you lie all the time, you become a lying coward.
Sure. And
then the people are lying all the time. I've seen family members lie to themselves, friends lie to themselves, colleagues lie to themselves, businesses lie to themselves. So the toughest, the biggest adventure that I'm striving for is to always tell the truth. If I can't always tell the truth, let me not lie. And that is really, really tough. Do you know how hard it is to not say lies on a daily basis? And I'm not talking about, I'll be back at 6, but then you come back at 8. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about internally with yourself. Do you really believe in yourself? Do you really believe in what you're doing? Do you want to do the work or not? Are you really committed, yes or no? And those are the types of lies that I'm trying to really, really unpack. And then also to really call people out who I think are lying. Because if I see someone living a lie and I don't say anything, I participate in it because I'm not calling it out. Obviously, if it's my place. If it's not my place, there's nothing to do with me. But then that's really the challenge that I have there.
Wow, it's incredible. It's such a good introspective journey to go on.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can shed so much light and share so much experience with others going through that yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I'm like, yeah, guys, you're gonna cry. You have to. I was speaking to someone like I went through some traumatic experiences and I don't know how to get over it. I said, have you tried journaling about it? Like, no, like just you don't have to like publish it to the world. Just journal about it. And this person said, I end up crying when I do. I'm like, you're supposed to, because you're processing the trauma. And now that I've really taken that journey, I can see other people. I'm like, you're suffering with something, you're suffering with this, suffering with that. And people like to look at, they look to religion and spiritual things to like help them. Maybe if someone prays for me, or if someone gives me this holy oil, so maybe someone gives me this, it'll make it all go away. Maybe that stuff will help. However, I don't think it will help you if you don't tell yourself the truth and you just go look at, really unpack. I'm just like really sit and think, actually maybe I haven't done what I'm supposed to be doing, right? So that's it's really been transformative and painful. It's painful. Yeah.
Pain is sometimes good. It's overcoming that pain, and it's going to help you. It's going to free that up going forward.
Yeah, it will. It will. So, what's your last question before we wrap it up for today? Good idea. I had a few, and you actually answered quite a lot of them as you were talking. That's fine. That's fine.
What has been one of the best books you've read recently that you just think like everyone should read?
The best books that I've read recently that everyone should read.
Yeah.
I haven't read yours. I was about to say yours, but let me really think about this one.
It's like always interesting
that I read recently.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't read The Alchemist recently, but that's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one. Recently that I started as part of my research for Father of Man is, it's the one by Jordan Peterson. 12 Rules for Life. That's where the whole tell yourself the truth and these don't lie. And the other one that he talks about there is don't compare yourself with others, but rather compare yourself with who you were yesterday, because you're the only person that has your advantages and disadvantages and your context. Because I cannot compare myself with Raphael Nadal. Two totally different eras, two totally different continents, two totally different lifestyles that we're living. He was born and gifted to play tennis. I'm born and gifted to lead and communicate. Two totally different things. And even with people in your space that you find in coaching and mentoring, you can't really compare yourself to them. Also, Gary Vee said, it's very fun. He's come up quite a bit. So
he's awesome though.
He's come up quite a bit. He also said that he doesn't know who his competitors are. He doesn't even care. He doesn't care. Sometimes you hear people like who are coaches and who are speakers. It's like, I'm the best in the world, or this person can't compete with me. I'll beat them. All these things. Like even in boxing, all the trash talking that goes on. He says, I don't know who my competitors are. I don't care. Nobody is taking my money. Absolutely no one. The only thing that's taking your money, or whatever place it is in this world, is your perception that someone is taking your money. Because I'm just focusing on what I have to do. I'm focusing on my hustle.
That's always every day.
I'm focusing on my hustle, and I don't care. Listen, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't care about other people. It's because he's just focusing on what he has to do, and that echoes what Jordan Peterson says: that don't compare yourself with others. Don't compare yourself with who someone else is today. And compare yourself with who you were yesterday, because you're only competing and becoming a better iteration of yourself. So there's a lot of wisdom in the book, and then he came up with a sequel that's Beyond Order. So those two Jordan Peterson books recently that I've read and going through. I'm still going through them. Awesome. I would say those are fantastic reads. Yeah,
that sounds amazing, and I mean it's so valuable to kind of take those, but then to actually use it in your own life. That is where the value is.
Yeah, like I'll be reading nowadays, like, as authors now, you don't just read everything like now you're like, okay, why did he use the word the?
Especially there.
Why are you there and not there? And then you like highlight it, and then you think about it. So the process that I'll take a book, that book, and just really think about it and see how it works in my life, and then also I'll take that and then sort of like make sense of it, and then come up with points in the book that I'm writing, and then make sure that I go and apply it and test it. That's why the process, like normally it takes me about 2 to 3 years to come up with a book, because I'm getting the ideas done, refining it, and then testing it on myself in my own life. And so that's
where the magic is.
That's what the magic is. Yes,
Yeah.
so I'm a method writer. If you if you want to call it that. Yeah. Do you have a last question before we write out?
I just love that, like looking at that book, and I mean, for you, everything you're doing, you love, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if money wasn't an issue, you'd still be doing this, or
100%.
okay, and that's, I mean, that's the thing. You can see it. I mean, in your work, and you just resonate that when you come and speak.
Yeah.
It's so nice to see that, because to me, that's when you see someone come alive. That's like the best thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's why I'm like 50,000 an hour, guys. You can't just now I must leave my house to come to you. You're not gonna pay. No. No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. You know,
Yeah.
when you're loving what you're doing, that's the best.
Yeah, it's the best. All right, cool. So no further questions, Joanna?
No, nothing that I can think of right now. I bet you I'm gonna think about 10 in
10,
the car. I'm gonna
okay.
be like, oh, I should have asked that.
Okay, yeah. Try and think of one. So we don't deal with the elements of.
What has been the biggest challenge of your married life so far? How have you found being married?
Married life, married life is amazing, because when I'm sad, I know why I'm sad. When I'm happy, I know why I'm happy. When I'm sad, it's because I'm married. When I'm happy, it's because I'm married. Marriage has simplified my life, really. In the case that I'm focusing on one woman. That's it. The most challenging part of it hasn't really been really tough, because I end up marrying my best friend, someone I've known for quite a while, and
That's
I've
awesome.
known for a number of years that I would, if I want to marry, yes I would. My dad took me through. He was he was a psychologist as well, not practicing, but he was a psychologist. So he took me through an entire discovery process and questioning process, onboarding processes.
Onboarding.
Yeah, onboarding. Yeah.
Welcome to the onboarding process. Please fill out the application.
Fill out the application form. Yeah. So then we spoke through it, and then also the benefit for me is that I knew I wanted to be married from a pretty much a young age.
Okay.
So there was no question there. Do I want to get married? Do I not want to get married? Like no. So then, we married, and I chose my best friend to marry. So it doesn't actually feel like I'm marrying this like monster. I'm like, if it's your best friend, then come on, like it's easier. The biggest challenge has been, I think, managing other people's expectations of how we should manage our own relationship, if it makes any sense.
Yeah, everyone loves giving advice.
Loves giving advice. But haven't you been divorced 5 times? That's not the case.
Listen to me.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
I think it's good. People expect to say you should have children now, or not have children now, or you should do this and do that and do that and do that. But the thing is, like, I think marriage is a very personal experience. It's only between 2 people, really.
Yeah.
And then you've got extended family members who come with their expectations, and then I know one thing I love doing years back, even though I still like doing it now. I speak to people who've been divorced and then remarried and then divorced, and people who've just been divorced and people who've never been remarried. So I can understand what is it that happened. So I can pretty much unpack and understand where they found themselves. And one of the causes for people getting divorced is, one, unfair expectations from other people. That had nothing to do with the two of you, because it goes back to the entire thing. No one's gonna like you. Well, not everyone's going to like you.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to like the person you marry. Not her friends may not even like you, but that's not the choice that you're not married to them.
Yeah.
You're married to the person that you're married to. So the most challenging part is like you're just like fending off other people's expectations, and everyone is like, hey, you guys want to kill each other yet? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
That might be your marriage.
That's a you problem.
That's a you
problem. And then because the world has just like different ideas of what it should be, and some people don't believe in marriage, but they're married, and like it's just because it's like. So the most challenging part has nothing to do with the two of us. It's like just like managing what other people think should be happening, and that's no way to live. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, it's a tough one. It's a really tough one. And wait till if you do choose to have children, then you've got a whole nother world of judgment coming from that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Advice.
But the thing is, what does help, and I say this to everyone because I've been going through a journey of writing Father of Man. is go to counseling together.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, unpack things. Just like really just go to counseling together. People want to kill each other, but because they haven't had a person who is objective and doesn't care. Like we went to see someone who took religion out of it. It was like he just went straight to the point, no BS, and then that was able to be sorted out. So whatever issues we had, we sorted out. And then just go to the counseling and see how you guys are going to work together. And it depends what you guys agree on, how you guys set your own rules. It's completely between the two of you. So that the challenging part has been warding off other people's unfair expectations.
Yeah, it's marriage on your terms.
It's marriage on your terms, and
Yeah.
then say no to people who don't care that you're married. I'm like, oh, you're married? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, stay away. Doesn't matter. What? The streets are tough for Candice. It's hard. It's tough when you sit in the streets, but then like it's a decision that I've made, and I'm really happy with it. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be tough, but I knew what I was like signing up for. 100%. And then my thing is like I don't necessarily believe in divorce unless it's like in extreme circumstances. I believe in death.
Uh-oh.
Not divorce.
Feel like crime investigation channel episode coming next.
But not divorce either, because you need to. Some people are getting divorced and they haven't even tried. Like if they haven't tried, really, like seriously, it's like they haven't tried. That's what I found. So yeah.
So okay, that's awesome.
Cool. So when you getting married now, Jack? Whenever it is that you
That
want
peer
to.
pressure.
Yes, it's real. No. It's a different life on your own terms. All right, cool. So that has been 1 hour 47 minutes.
Wow, already.
Yeah, already. It felt like 5 minutes.
Absolutely, it's flown past.
Right? Yes. All right, cool. So thank you very much, Candice. This has been an awesome conversation. It's always great interacting and engaging with you. And I look forward to getting lost in unlocking your superpowers, keys to achieving success in school and beyond. I think you can just leave another 2 for me, and then I'll sort you out later. I've got a nephew and a niece who need to read these books. Okay. All right. So that has been myself, James. Guys, remember that success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. That means you're going after what you've always wanted to go after because it's aligned with your highest values, and that is the only way for you to live a truly fulfilled and inspired life. Go out there and change the world because you're the only person who can. And I've been here with Candice. We're talking about achieving success in school and beyond. We're talking about a lot more things than that. And yes, she does believe that Michael Jordan is the greatest, so please don't come after her. So thank you very much, Candice.
Thank you.